Russia is the largest country in the world by area. Its territory holds many secrets and mysteries, most of which date back centuries. In this video, I invite you to explore the most mystical places in Russia. Enjoy watching. On the border of the Sverdlovsk Oblast and Perm Krai, on the left bank of the Silva River, lies Russia's most famous anomalous zone, the Molebka Triangle. This place rivals the world-renowned Bermuda Triangle, as equally eerie and mystical events occur here. The history of this zone began in 1984, when during a hunting trip near the village of Molebka, Emil Bachurin discovered a strange circle about 62 meters in diameter in a clearing. This spot was hard to miss, as the snow inside the circle was melting and the grass had turned into hay. Bachurin had read many articles about aliens, so he concluded that he had found the landing site of an extraterrestrial spacecraft. He thought he had explored the site for no more than 15 minutes, but later it turned out that he had actually been there for 2.5 hours. During that time, his wristwatch stopped working and only resumed functioning once Bachurin left the anomalous zone. Bachurin shared his discovery and observations with scientists. 2 years later, the first scientific expedition was sent to the surroundings of Molebka, but the scientists found nothing strange. The following year, Bachurin once again went to the area around Molebka on his own, and allegedly even made contact with aliens. This news became an even greater sensation, and not only Soviet, but also foreign journalists began arriving in the anomalous zone. The number of newspaper and magazine articles caused a real public furor. After that, tourists from all over the country began to visit the area around the village of Molebka regularly. Crowds of people wishing to meet aliens began wandering the local forests. Imagine how the lives of the village's residents changed, who were accustomed to peace and quiet. Naturally, this UFO frenzy sparked outrage among the inhabitants of Molebka. People started writing letters to newspapers refuting all the information about contact with extraterrestrials. However, this did not stop the area's growing popularity. In response to the villagers' furious letters, tourists in the 1990s began reporting new observations in the area, particularly about glowing orbs in the sky, fiery pillars appearing in the forest, and how all equipment would suddenly fail during these phenomena. But that's not all. Many people who visited the anomalous zone claimed they saw strange humanoid creatures hiding behind trees. These stories even had evidence, such as photographs capturing paranormal phenomena. The history of the Molebka anomalous zone is certainly ambiguous. On one hand, everything that happened could be nothing more than fiction. On the other hand, these events could have genuinely occurred. The refuting messages from local residents might have been ordered to divert public attention from a place visited by aliens. Petrov Island is a unique tourist destination located in Primorsky Krai. Virtually every corner of this island is connected with a mystical legend, each passed down through generations by the Bohai people who inhabited this area 1,000 years ago. The island was named after the Russian naval officer Alexander Petrov, who rediscovered this territory. The first archaeological excavations on the island were conducted in the mid-20th century, and scientists found that the area had been inhabited since before our era, when the current island was a peninsula connected to the mainland by a narrow isthmus. Ancient peoples living in this place continuously replaced one another, but the primary inhabitants of the island, from the 8th to the 10th centuries AD, were representatives of the first Tunguska Manchurian state of Bohai. This is evidenced by the large number of artifacts found by archaeologists. Starting in the 13th century, the island was inhabited by the Jurchens, representatives of the Golden Jin Empire, although their presence on this land was short-lived. Today, Petrov Island is a popular tourist destination for visitors to the Lazovsky Nature Reserve. This land attracts travelers not only with its beauty and rich history, but also with various legends. The most visited place on the island is the unique yew grove. How these trees came to be on the island remains a mystery, but scientists tend to believe they were brought here by the Golden Jin Empire. Among the yews is one tree of an unusual shape, on the trunk of which you can see a human face. According to legends, This is actually an ancient Bohai shaman who turned himself into a tree to protect this land. The story of how people settled on this island is also unknown. However, according to legend, the first inhabitants of this land were two lovers. This young couple ran away from their families who had been feuding for a long time. They climbed a high hill and promised to jump off for the sake of their love, but their parents saw this and decided to make peace, allowing their children to marry and stay on the island. The eastern side of the island is almost inaccessible due to the large number of cliffs, which are also connected to a legend. If you believe it, on top of one of the cliffs lives the ghost of the White Lady, who calls travelers to her. Of course, climbing up to her is not easy, but it is said that if you do, the ghost will offer you a swim in a crystal-clear, warm lake that does not actually exist. If the person agrees to do so, they will fall into the abyss. There is also a hollow on the island, which is believed to help fulfill wishes. To make your dreams come true, just hug the tree and whisper what you desire. A popular spot among women is a unique living spring, which was said to grant Bohai women beauty, youth, health, and even cure infertility. I think many of you will agree that this number of legends is enough to consider Petrov Island a unique, mysterious place. But in fact, this is only a small part of what guides at the Lazovsky Nature Reserve can tell you. In Yaroslavl Oblast, near the town of Pereslavl-Zaleski, lies a mystical body of water known as Lake Pleshcheyevo. It was on this lake that Tsar Peter the Great built his first toy fleet. This fact has made the lake a well-known landmark of the region, but among locals, it is also famous for the anomalies that occur in its vicinity. The most common anomaly at Lake Pleshcheyevo is the dense fog. It appears suddenly regardless of the weather or time of day and dissipates just as quickly. Locals say that if you find yourself in the center of this natural phenomenon, you can hear strange sounds and see silhouettes resembling people. Additionally, people note that within this fog, one can lose track of time. There are several known cases where fishermen disappeared in the fog and later reappeared in the same spot, believing that only half an hour had passed. Another mystical story about Lake Pleshcheyevo involves the disappearance of divers. It is believed that the lake has a double bottom, making underwater navigation difficult. Thus, those who dive too deep risk finding themselves on the lake's lower bottom, becoming trapped. However, locals believe that those brave souls who disappear in the lake's deeper areas do not actually perish, but rather end up in another world, as there is a portal to another dimension at the bottom of the lake. The greatest mystery of Lake Pleshcheyevo is the Sin Common, Blue Stone. The Blue Stone is a large boulder that is 3 meters high, 2 meters wide, and weighs about 12 tons. It got its name due to its stunning blue hue, which becomes more prominent after rain. This stone has witnessed many events over thousands of years. In ancient times, it stood on a hill and served as a ritual site for the Finno-Ugric peoples who lived in the area. Later, the Slavs who came to the lake also used it for worship. With the arrival of Christianity, the boulder became associated with paganism. Because of this, it was thrown off the hill, and a church was built in its place. However, according to legends, no matter how many times the stone was thrown into the lake, it would always end up back on dry land, and all structures built on its former site were eventually destroyed. Of course, tales of miracles associated with the blue stone were passed down from generation to generation. Eventually, people noticed that this boulder possessed healing powers and even helped fulfill the most cherished wishes, provided they were not related to material wealth or other worldly gains. This is why the stone has become a popular attraction, visited by thousands of tourists each year. In fact, there are many other mystical legends associated with Lake Pleshcheyevo. As you can see, this body of water and its shores hold an incredible number of secrets. On the Kamchatka Peninsula, at the foot of the active Kikpinich volcano, lies a terrifying place known as Kamchatka's Valley of Death. This anomalous zone was created by nature itself, and countless animals perish in its territory. The Valley of Death is about 2 kilometers long and 500 meters wide. This place was first discovered in 1975 by volcanologists studying volcanic activity. They found that animal remains were scattered across the area. The bodies of the animals were in various stages of decomposition, indicating that they had died there regularly. Naturally, this anomaly caught the attention of scientists, and they decided to investigate its nature. Extensive research revealed that animals die in the Valley of Death due to exposure to poisonous gases. There is constant activity in the depths of the active volcano, and deadly gases seep through the surface of the earth at this site, accumulating at the foot of the Kikpinich volcano. The valley's bowl-like shape prevents these gases from dissipating into the air. As a result, the gas concentration does not decrease but rather increases. Despite its dangers, the valley attracts many small animals searching for vegetation. This happens most often in the spring, after the snow melts. Additionally, the nearby Geyser River makes the area even more attractive. Of course, the animals are unaware that they are walking into a trap, and that they will meet their death there instead of finding food. The deadly gas affects animals quickly, causing respiratory paralysis. Most commonly, small rodents perish in the valley, but the smell of carrion attracts larger predators, which come in search of food and end up trapped as well. There is nothing scientists can do to prevent the deaths of small rodents, but they do try to protect larger animals. They periodically visit the Valley of Death to remove the rodent carcasses. The gases are also dangerous to humans, so researchers try to finish their work in the area as quickly as possible. According to local accounts, Kamchatka's Valley of Death has claimed not only animals' lives, but also those of humans, specifically tourists who wanted to test whether it was truly dangerous to be there. Reportedly, more than 10 people have attempted this, though this information is considered unofficial. In Vologda Oblast, in the northwestern district of Russia, lies an amazing protected natural area called the Darwin Nature Reserve. The reserve was established in 1945 to study changes in the wildlife after the construction of the Rybinsk hydroelectric power station and the Rybinsk Reservoir. The reserve covers an area of more than 112 hectares and is rich in a diverse range of flora and fauna, including species of animals, plants, and fungi listed in the Red Book of Russia. Additionally, the Darwin Nature Reserve is known for various anomalies, one of which is known as Urachishcha X. The story related to this unusual place began in 1988, when a resident of a village near the Darwin Nature Reserve reported his observations to scientists. According to him, anomalies on the reserve's territory had been noticed by his grandmother and grandfather, residents of the now-defunct village of Kotovets. In 1890, they saw a strange glowing object fall from the sky onto one of the hills. Other villagers also witnessed this incident. The people decided to investigate what had happened and went to the hill. At the site, they found a large pit, and inside it were fiery arrows that seemed to be alive. Learning of this, the local priest decided to fill the pit and build a church on the spot. Written accounts state that something seemed unholy about the church. During services, the parishioners often felt unwell, so no one could stay there for long, and eventually, the church was demolished. Sometime later, the villagers once again witnessed an anomaly. This time, they saw a strange, round, flying object in the sky. Afterward, some people reported seeing strange humanoid creatures in the forest while picking mushrooms. These beings seemed to be trying to hide. The anomalies continued to occur regularly, and in 1988, scientists learned about them. Naturally, these stories piqued the interest of researchers and ufologists. Between 1991 and 1997, several expeditions were organized to the site where the village of Kotovets once stood. The research was led by ufologist Valery Kukushkin. Unfortunately, his expeditions were hampered by the staff of the Darwin Nature Reserve, as the area is especially protected territory and off-limits to outsiders. However, Kukushkin managed to find evidence of extraterrestrial presence in the area, which he shared in his book Chimeras of Urachishcha X. Why this location was chosen by aliens for their research on our planet remains a mystery. It is quite possible that the large area of wild forests allowed them to remain undetected. Cape Besov Nos is located in one of the most picturesque regions of Russia, Karelia. The cape lies in a wild area, which is difficult to reach on foot. Besov Nos is a unique natural creation with its fantastic beauty and mystical stories. The cape has an elongated shape. It is relatively narrow at the base, widens toward the middle, and slightly curves. From a distance, it indeed resembles a nose, which is how it got its name. Besov Nos means demon's nose in Russian. The cape is believed to possess mystical energy. In sunny and warm weather, visitors to this place feel uplifted and invigorated. However, during rains and winds that stir up the waves of Lake Onega, people often feel anxiety and fear. Additionally, many tourists and locals note that time seems to stand still at this cape, as if transporting them to another reality. Some people feel as though an entire day has passed when they have only been on the cape for 10 minutes, while others feel that time moves too quickly. Why this happens is unknown. Perhaps it is due to some kind of energy, or perhaps it is the effect of the natural beauty of the area on the human mind. Besov Nos is also famous for its mysterious petroglyphs carved into the sloping rock faces. These markings were first discovered in the mid-19th century, although the petroglyphs themselves were created long before that time. Studies of the rock carvings on Besov Nos have revealed that they were made about 5,000 years ago by ancient people who lived in this area. The uniqueness of these petroglyphs lies not only in their age but also in their size. Some of them are up to 2.5 meters tall. In total, there are 115 petroglyphs on the cape. Some depict hunting scenes, while others show various animals, birds, and symbols. The most famous petroglyph depicts a demon with a human body and a square head. The demon's right hand is overlapped by the image of a cross. Scientists believe that the cross was added by monks from the Murom Dormition monastery. According to legend, they found this image and decided to sanctify the cursed place with a cross. As soon as they completed the work, a deafening roar suddenly sounded, and the demon's image split into two parts. The monks fled in terror, but one of them died. Since then, the place has been considered cursed. Besov Nos is regarded as a mystical place even among ufologists. According to legends, portals to other dimensions are located on its territory. Moreover, a mysterious entity can sometimes be encountered in the forest, which cannot be seen but can be felt. When people encounter it, they experience a strong chill and fear. However, even the residents of nearby settlements do not know what kind of spirit this might be. Pechory is a small town in the Pskov Oblast, located near the Russian-Estonian border. This settlement was founded in 1473 and thus boasts a rich history. Pechory is known for having 3 Orthodox churches, a Lutheran church, and the Pskov Caves Holy Dormition Monastery, which was established in the 15th century. Since its founding, the town has had a religious character, yet strange paranormal phenomena have been reported within and around its territory. According to legends, the residents of Pechory have heard eerie screams and moans coming from the forest at night for centuries. The cause of this anomaly remains a mystery. Some people believe that the cries are made by the spirits of fallen warriors. Historically, it is known that in 1701, during the second year of the Great Northern War, a major battle took place near Pechory, known as the Battle of Pechory, resulting in the death of about 30 Swedish and 500 Russian soldiers. Additionally, several nearby villages were set on fire, leading to the death of many civilians. It should also be noted that during World War II, the Pechory area was occupied by German forces. During the battle for its liberation in 1944, around 2,600 Soviet soldiers lost their lives. As you can see, much blood has been shed on this land, which might have left an imprint on the history of Pechory. Interestingly, paranormal phenomena often occur in places where a large number of people have died, so it is not surprising that the residents of Pechory encounter such anomalies. The strange screams attracted the attention of scientists who attempted to understand their nature. Several scientific studies were conducted in the forests near Pechory, but none yielded the expected results. Thus, the mystery of the night cries remains unsolved. Another mystical anomaly in Pechory is related to the caves, the entrance to which is inside the Pskov Caves Holy Dormition Monastery. The caves are divided into the near and far sections. At the entrance to the near caves lies the coffin of Mother Vasa. This woman, whose birth name was Maria, arrived in Pechory with her husband and took part in the construction of the Dormition Cathedral. Before her death, she became a nun and took the name Vasa. Remarkably, after Mother Vasa was buried, her coffin was found twice on the surface of the ground. This astonished everyone, so it was decided to create a niche in the cave where the coffin was placed. This miracle was not the only one. During the attack on the monastery by the Livonians, a divine fire began emanating from Vasa's tomb. A burn mark is still visible on the lid of the coffin. Interestingly, studies of this mark have shown that the fire indeed originated from the coffin itself. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, a unique event occurred near the Podkamenaya Tunguska River in what is now Krasnoyarsk Krai. This phenomenon became known as the Tunguska event. On that day, people across eastern Siberia could see a fireball with a trail of dust moving through the sky from the southeast to the northwest. It rapidly approached the Earth's surface, followed by an incredibly powerful explosion that was recorded by observatories around the world. The fiery object's impact caused a massive forest fire in the taiga. Trees were felled over an area of more than 2,150 square kilometers. The explosion was so powerful that windows were shattered in houses more than 100 kilometers away from the epicenter. The event was witnessed by residents of settlements located over 100 kilometers from the site. One eyewitness recalled seeing the sky split in two, followed by a burst of flames. At that moment, he felt the air temperature rise suddenly. Then he heard a tremendous crash, as if giant boulders were falling from the sky, and then an explosion so strong that it threw him to the ground. What happened that morning over a century ago remains a mystery. The site where the fireball fell is a remote part of the taiga. Therefore, the first investigation of the area was not conducted until 1921, 13 years after the event. Initially, it was believed that a meteorite caused the explosion. However, during the first expedition led by scientists Leonid Kulik and Pyotr Draver, they found no evidence to support this theory. There was no crater where the explosion occurred, nor were there any fragments of a celestial body. Besides the meteorite theory, there are at least 77 other hypotheses explaining what happened near the Podkamenaya Tunguska River. Let's look at a few of the most popular ones. According to ufologists, on June 30th, 1908, an alien spaceship crashed. The extraterrestrials survived and quickly removed all traces of their presence. This would explain the lack of craters and debris in the forest. Another hypothesis suggests that the explosion in the taiga was caused by experiments conducted by Nikola Tesla. Interestingly, he was seen in a library gathering information about eastern Siberia in early 1908, so theoretically, he could have been involved in the incident. Some scientists also believe that the Tunguska event is related to a unique natural anomaly, a giant ball lightning that fell into the forest, causing a fire and the felling of trees. Despite the numerous hypotheses, none of them have direct evidence, which is why the Tunguska event remains one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. The Karelian Isthmus is a stretch of land situated between the Gulf of Finland and Lake Ladoga, covering an area of about 92,000 square kilometers. In ancient times, this territory was inhabited by the Karelian people, a Baltic Finnish tribe. These people resisted adopting Christianity for a long time and remained devoted to paganism. As a result, many pagan historical monuments can be found throughout the Karelian Isthmus. Among the most notable of these are the sacrificial stones. The Baltic Finnish peoples had a tradition of venerating boulders. Typically, they selected the largest and most uniquely shaped stones, which would then become sacrificial stones. The greatest number of these ritual boulders can now be found in the Tverskoye settlement, which consists of the ruins of an ancient fortified settlement. In the northeastern part of the Tverskoye settlement, there are several sacrificial stones. Their heights range from 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Some of them bear images of crosses, which has puzzled historians. As previously mentioned, the Karelians adhered to paganism for a long time, so it is unlikely that they used crosses on their sacrificial stones. Typically, such boulders bore no marks, unlike the ritual stones of Estonia and Finland, which were marked with bowl-shaped indentations. Some scholars suggest that the crosses were added to mark state borders, but most historians lean toward the theory that priests used the crosses to consecrate the pagan sanctuaries. Sacrificial stones can be found throughout all former Karelian settlements. In ancient times, they were used for sacrifices and ritual ceremonies, serving as shrines or altars. Later, when Christians began to arrive in the Karelian Isthmus, these stones became associated with fear and pagan rituals, which were believed to include not only animal sacrifices, but also human ones. This is why priests tried to sanctify such defiled stones. Over time, attitudes toward these boulders changed. Today, they are considered historical monuments. However, some of them are still shrouded in mystical legends, telling of evil spirits and sacrificial rituals. Kashkulak Cave is a karst cave located on Mount Kashkulak, in the Kuznetsk-Alatau Highlands in Caucasia. This place is considered one of the scariest and most mystical in all of Russia. Locals have long avoided this cave, as they believe in an old legend. According to it, a very long time ago, a white elder shaman lived near the Golden Stream close to the cave. He guided the souls of the dead into the cave and could turn stones into gold. When the shaman died, his body was cremated, and his bones, clothes, and drum were placed in the cave. After that, all residents of nearby settlements were forbidden to enter the cave. It was said that if anyone disobeyed and entered the cave, the spirit of the White Elder would become angry and punish them. However, entry to the cave was allowed for elderly people who felt that death was near. They would come to the cave to meet their end, and the spirit of the White Elder would help guide their souls to the afterlife. This legend was passed down through generations, which is why even modern locals do not visit Kashkulak Cave. Tourists are also warned of the dangers that may lurk there. Typically, they are told the story of two girls who did not believe in the legend and went into the cave anyway. As a result, one of them disappeared, and the other returned the next day, but in a state of complete madness. Naturally, Kashkulak Cave has attracted the attention of scientists, pseudoscientists, and adventurers. However, nothing good ever happens to those who enter the cave. A vivid example of something inexplicable happening in the cave is the case of the speleologist Konstantin Bakulin. In 1985, he went on an expedition to Kashkulak Cave with his team. Bakulin decided to enter the cave alone, leaving his colleagues outside in case they needed to help him if something went wrong. When the scientist ventured deep into the cave, he felt as though his mind was leaving him and his body was no longer under his control. At one point, he sensed a presence behind him. Turning around, he saw an old man with gray hair and a beard, dressed in a long robe and hat, holding a drum. The elder beckoned him to follow, but Bakulin barely managed to refuse. Realizing he had witnessed a mystical anomaly, Bakulin pulled on the safety rope to be quickly pulled back to the surface. He was rescued, but the spirit of the White Elder continued to appear in his dreams for a long time. Eventually, Bakulin decided never to return to Kashkulak Cave. Interestingly, Bakulin was not the only scientist who encountered the shaman's spirit. However, the cause of these phenomena remains a mystery. Some scientists believe that gases accumulate inside the cave, which may cause hallucinations. Additionally, studies have revealed that a powerful impulse periodically arises within the cave, causing bats to leave the area until it dissipates. Unfortunately, the source of this impulse also remains unknown. Thus, Kashkulak Cave can be considered not only the most mystical, but also the most mysterious place in Russia. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.